Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing my first ever episode of Marvel Monday. I don't have a graphic for it yet because I wasn't really prepared to make this video. But that being said, Captain America Brave New World is coming up on us very, very quickly. And I'm incredibly excited for this movie to come out. And I am insanely excited that we're finally getting Marvel movies that take place in the MCU, because it's been over a year since the last MCU movie that we've had that has fully taken place in the MCU. So, like I said, insanely excited about this movie. I have a bunch of predictions. We're going to kind of run through them. I've kind of going to separate them into a couple of different aspects. Cameos, people who I think might potentially show up in this. What I think the end credit scene is going to be, because I have a very massive prediction of what I think the end credit scene is going to be, and I am fairly confident about it. And then, obviously, this movie does have a scene in it that is supposed to be a funeral. We've seen a lot of set photos of it, and it definitely seems like somebody of importance is going to be passing away in this film. So I'm going to be making my guess as to who that is as well. Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk about cameos. For some reason, cameos have kind of become like the bread and butter of Marvel movies. For some reason, every single time a Marvel movie is coming out, that's one of the biggest things that we discuss as a fan base is who's going to show up in this? Are there going to be epic cameos? Oh my god, are they going to pull back this actor who hasn't played this character in 20 years? Which, by the way, they're already doing it with Tim Blake Nelson in this movie. We're going to be seeing the leader. I'm incredibly excited about it. I will say this. This is probably a really nitpicky thing. I've seen the Funko Pop of this guy. His head better be bigger. His head better be bigger in the movie. Why does he look like that? Why does he look like just a normal dude? I am so annoyed. When I saw this design, I literally wanted to crash out completely. Anyways, not the point. That's not what I'm talking about right now. But cameos. Is there anybody interesting who we think could potentially show up in this movie who's not currently announced to be in the movie? So, obviously, the first character I'm going to talk about, we're seeing a Red Hulk in this movie. We're seeing the leader. We're having, there's rumors that the person who played Betty Ross is going to be in this movie. It makes absolutely no sense to me if we do not see the man, the myth himself, Bruce Banner. I'm 100% confident that there is going to be at least a cameo from Bruce Banner. I think he's going to show up as the Hulk. I don't necessarily think that he's going to fight the Red Hulk, because I think, even though as of right now, it definitely seems like what they're teeing up is that the third act battle is going to be Sam versus Red Hulk. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually something that happens more like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and there's an even bigger battle that happens at the end of the film that's with the leader and some of the people that he's kind of assembled. I'm expecting them to kind of pull an Illuminati thing, because for people who do not know, I said Illuminati, that's not it. Intelligentsia. For people who do not watch She-Hulk, it's actually probably better for you, because you'll be more familiar with the comic accurate version of the Intelligentsia. It's a group that's underground and has a bunch of Marvel villains in it. People like Wesley S. Claw, who showed up in Black Panther. And it just has a bunch of like minor B-tier villains who kind of work under the seams and kind of create this like weird underground organization that has a bunch of bad guys that works as a part of it. And it becomes like a really big deal, and they kind of end up kind of like another version of like Hydra, which is just like an underground enemy who you don't expect to see. I think the Intelligentsia could potentially make an appearance in this movie, and we're going to see some villains like Tim Blake Nelson's the leader, who we haven't seen in a while. And I don't really have any suggestions for specific villains I would like to see in this movie. But that being said, I think that the third act is going to be more than just Red Hulk versus Sam Wilson. I think that they're setting it up like that is it. I think that it's not. I think that that will be something that happens towards the end of the movie, but it's not going to be the final battle. And the final battle is going to be something that is more intimate, and Sam is actually going to need help with, because a lot of people keep saying, oh, well, Sam Wilson, he's just a man. How is he going to fight a Red Hulk? Iron Man was just a man, and he fought Thanos hand to hand. They have technology, they have things, they have skills. Sam Wilson has been using these wings for presumably at least 10 years, because he used to do it in the military. Now he's doing it as a superhero. Like, it makes sense to me that he's going to be able to take on a Red Hulk. I genuinely don't understand why that's a complaint that people have. But what I'm concerned about is, who's the actual big bad of this movie going to be? Because I don't think they're just going to have this movie be, oh my god, here's the new Captain America. He's a black guy, and he's going to fight the president, because I feel like that wouldn't go over well with audiences. Like, I genuinely think that a lot of people who are already pissed off about the fact that he's Captain America would be even more pissed off that he's fighting a white old man. I don't know if that's something Marvel took into account, but I definitely think that there's going to be another villain in play later in the movie, and I definitely think that they're going to need help, and they're going to have a character like the Hulk show up to potentially help with that, or at least give him advice about, like, hey, here's how you would fight somebody who has all this gamma issues. And I think that, if nothing else, Bruce Banner is a genius, and if Sam Wilson needs help from a genius, he knows somebody to call. Another prediction I'm going to make, a lot of people have been saying that it's really weird that Bucky Barnes isn't going to be in this movie. I think he is. I think that at some point in the first 15 minutes, either he's going to be in the movie, there's going to be a phone call with him, or there's going to be some kind of thing that sets up the fact that Bucky Barnes is now a part of the U.S. government and he's not going to be helping out with these kinds of deals anymore because he has bigger fish to fry. And I think that it's going to be something that sets up the fact that when we see him next in Thunderbolts, he's technically somebody who works for the government now, and I think that he's not as much of the Winter Soldier. He's not somebody who's going out into action like that, so I think that that's something that is going to be addressed in this movie. I don't think they're just going to be like, oh, these two people worked side by side for this 6-episode miniseries. They're never going to talk to each other ever again. I think he's going to be referenced. Another person who came up in The Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'm fairly confident we're going to get a Rhodey cameo in this, and I'm going to go ahead and jump the gun here and kind of talk about some of the people who might potentially die in this movie. We were going to get an Armor Wars TV show that was going to follow Rhodey, kind of having to deal with the aftermath of Stark Tech getting into the wrong hands, and there was going to be a Justin Hammer cameo, and he was going to show up, and he was going to be one of the bad guys who has this Iron Man technology, and there was going to be a big story there with Armor Wars. Eventually, they pulled it off. They said that this isn't going to be a Disney Plus show anymore. We're going to make it a movie, and then once again, it got pulled off the slate. We have no idea what's happening with the future of this character. I think Rhodey passing away would be a huge deal, and it's something that would definitely cause a lot of these characters who are meeting up together to come to this funeral that's in Washington, D.C., because he is somebody who's served for the military for about 25 years of his life. He's somebody who's a really big deal, and his funeral would definitely be something that happens at Washington, D.C. It would get the president, it would get a lot of different people involved, and I think that him passing away makes a lot of sense. Necessarily, are they going to do it? I don't know, but that's my big guess. Another guess, this is a very popular one, Steve Rogers passing away. I originally thought for sure this was the movie he was going to pass away in. They were going to confirm that old man Steve Rogers is officially dead, and I think that part of the reason why it would make sense to do it in this movie is just because a lot of people are still speculative about, oh my god, what's going on with Steve Rogers? We know that he exists. We know that there's an old man Steve Rogers somewhere running around. And it's a big thing that a lot of people are speculating where Steve Rogers went. And I think even if he doesn't actually show up on screen and we don't actually get confirmation that he is actually dead, the government is going to hold a funeral for him because they presume that he is dead. That's the two people that I think are either going to die. I think it's either going to be Rhodey, which not a very obvious choice, but as somebody who thinks that that character doesn't really have a whole lot to offer anymore, and it would potentially be a very gut-wrenching thing, oh my god, he passed away, I think that I could see that happening. And then there's a third one, if they want to touch on Secret Invasion. I don't think they would want to, but the president who was president during Secret Invasion, if he passed away, that'd be another person who would definitely have to have a funeral at Washington, D.C. But like I said, I think most likely if I had to put all of my money on one of those three, I think it's going to be old man Steve Rogers, and I don't think he's actually dead. I think that they're just holding a funeral for him so that people who are kind of upset about this being the new Captain America have a more big understanding of the fact that Steve Rogers is officially gone. So that's my prediction about the death. When it comes to cameos, there's only 2 more cameos that I think could potentially show up in this. Wong happens to show up in everything, so I think that there's a good chance that he shows up. And then the last one, I've said this in every MCU prediction video I have made since, I want to say probably, what was the one before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I'm pretty sure I guessed in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, The Marvels, and now Deadpool and Wolverine. And now this one, Shang-Chi is showing up. And the reason I say this is because Simu Liu said in a tweet, I want to say it was back in 2022, that we're going to see him again sooner than we think. I don't think he would have said that if he wasn't actually actively filming scenes, and this is one of the last projects that he could have potentially been filming scenes for. So it's either this or he shows up in Wonder Man, which would make sense because that also takes place in the San Francisco area, LA area, somewhere where he could show up. But that being said, I think he's going to show up in this movie, and the reason I think this, I'm going to tie this into my idea for what I think the end credit scene of this movie is going to be. I think that the end credit scene is going to be a scene very similar to the end credit scene of Avengers Age of Ultron, where for the while we've been thinking who are the Avengers lineup? Who's going to be the Avengers in this Marvel Phase 4, Marvel Phase 5? It's something that originally was rumored to be the main plot of this movie was Captain America needs to find his Avengers, and the president goes up to him and is just hey, we need the Avengers back. You're a captain. Go find your team. And I'm expecting that to be the end credit scene of this movie, for us to see kind of the new Avengers lineup, see everybody walking up to this training facility, and we're going to have kind of another similar moment to how Age of Ultron ends with him saying, Avengers, and then it cuts off. But I'm expecting us to see kind of a new Avengers lineup, and I'm expecting to see people like Scar, Hulk's son. I think that he's randomly going to be one of those people in that post-credit scene. I think that we're going to see Joaquin Torres as Falcon. I think that we're going to see Patriot, Isaiah Bradley's grandson, showing up as one of these potential, you know, new Avengers. And then the last one we're going to see is Shang-Chi. I'm expecting it to be a little like walk-up scene with them all walking up to the training facility, and then Falcon coming down, landing, and having his big hero moment and being like, this is our lineup. Because I think at this point, even Marvel themselves is kind of at a point where they're just like, we need to address who the Avengers are. People are starting to get mad at us that they don't know who the Avengers are. We need an Avengers lineup. And even though that Avengers lineup that I just suggested doesn't sound incredible, it's something to get people excited about the fact that they're working on it. They're going to have an Avengers lineup. They just need a little bit more time. This is exciting. I think that that is very plausible. And yeah, that's all of my predictions for who's going to die, who's going to be in a cameo and the end credit scene. The last thing, if I had to guess any other characters dying throughout the course of this movie, I wouldn't be surprised if they killed off Harrison Ford's Red Hulk, because Harrison Ford, the chances of him showing up in another movie, slim to none. And I understand that they could potentially have him show up in the CGI Red Hulk version, but I don't see it happening. So that's another person who potentially could die. I'm not going to place my bets on another person dying, but if I had to, I could see it happening. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow. Bow, bow.